So welcome to another great episode of Good Troublemakers. Good Troublemakers, as some of you listeners and viewers know, was the admonition of that wonderful civil rights activist, Congressman John Lewis, who said to us all, make good trouble. So these three people took his advice, and he do it a lot of times. Our guests today are from the Connecticut River Defenders. They are the Connecticut River Defenders, and they're Priscilla Lynch, Jeff Brown, and Teresa Turner, who are all Connecticut River Defenders. I must say I'm an adjunct person who is connected to the Connecticut River Defenders. So, transparency, it's a big thing these days, right? Everybody needs to be transparent. So here we are. So the Connecticut River Defenders, what does the Connecticut River need defenders?
Yes, it needs defenders for lots of reasons, but what we focus on is the misuse of the river by a Canadian federal government-owned company, a for-profit company called First Light, that sucks the water using copious amounts of electricity from nuclear and fracked gas electricity, generator electricity, to bring vast quantities of water to the top of Northfield Mountain, only to let it down and get maybe 6 to 8 hours of electricity. But the coming down disturbs the river immensely, both going up and coming down. And it has, I believe, 4 turbines that chew up the fish and all the life in the river, so that 20 miles between 2 dams is virtually devoid of fish life.
So, are you the only people who know about this? What? I mean, that's a pretty awful thing. I mean, the river needs to be defended against the despoiling of the river and the sucking up you're talking about. And I think that's company, that First Light, calls itself a hydro plant, right? Although most of the energy it uses comes from, as you said, nuclear and fossil fuels.
That's right.
So, where's the Better Business Bureau? Do we still have that? Can't they be sued for, false advertising? Oh, well.
Well, just to go to the beginning of that question,
yes,
is, who else knows about this? It's interesting how many people don't know about it. People who even live in the area or near there, because it's really very well kind of disguised. It's very much off to the side, up the mountain where they don't let you go. There's very calm looking intake area around a park that they've built and all. So, a lot of people living around here or near there even don't know what it does. But who does know what it does? Is FERC. First Light.
FERC is
the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission
yes,
in D.C., which licenses the water facilities, hydro facilities.
Let me just interrupt for 1 second. This is Northfield, Massachusetts we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Northfield,
yes,
where this for-profit Canadian, primarily, but now I guess it's a multinational, is located, has this pump storage place. Excuse me, yeah.
Yeah, and I would just add that First Light knows what's happening there. They know what they're doing. They know how they're destroying the river. They know what they're doing to the aquatic life there. Because you know what? When we critique that, they don't say a word. They don't say a word. And a lot of the other organizations in the area that work for the river know what's happening there too.
So let me ask you about that. The Connecticut River Conservancy is an organization that has a reputation what's in their title, to conserve the river, conservation of the river. So are they allies of yours, or are you allies of theirs? How do they respond to you? Are they on the same page?
Well, I I don't want to, certainly wouldn't want to speak for them.
No, no.
You know, but I think in some respects we're on the same page, and in some respects we're not. I think we both have grave concerns for the river, grave concerns for how the public and the river are approached by these multi-corporations, these large corporations. But we have a different view than others in terms of how to manage dealing with this relicensing process. So for us, we say the Northfield Mountain Pump Storage Station has to be shut down, and shut down right now. Our interpretation of what many other organizations are saying and doing is that we know FERC will relicense this operation, so we're going to use this licensing process to do the best we can to get the best we can for the river. And we just say the best we can for the river is that it be gone.
Yes, and so there's a difference in your approaches that you're saying. It's look what it's doing. I mean, you've just explained to all our audience that it's killing all the wildlife in the river that happens to be between those in that 20-mile area, and that's pretty bad. I mean, quite bad. You know, it's not only the fish, but the greenery, everything in that water is brought in, as you said, through these turbines up the hill to the top. And the other thing, of course, is the cost. You know, that I think they pump it up when it is the cheapest, and they pump it down for you to buy it when it's the most expensive.
Right, and they lose about a third of that energy. In other words, they only get 2/3 back. They're burning all this fossil fuel to power those turbines, and then when they can make some money, they'll send it down, but they only get 2/3 the amount of energy that they put in. And let's not forget that the riverbank is being degraded. So they consider the Connecticut River between Turners and Vernon to be the lower impoundment. In other words, it's a pump storage facility, and that part of the river is the lower impoundment. It's not a river anymore. The level goes up and down radically, quickly, degrading the bank, eroding the bank, and the river actually runs backwards. When they let it all out, that river isn't big enough to take it all downstream. So you got this river being flushed in and out on pretty much a daily basis.
Oh.
For the past 50 years. Well, 50 plus, because they've been trying to renegotiate this license for 12 years now. So 62 years or something like that, this has been happening, and they're looking to do it for another 50.
So I don't understand this. They've been running without a license?
Correct. The licensing process requires a lot of studies and a lot of work ahead of time, if you want to call it work, I'm not quite sure. So they do start early. You know, they expect it to take a number of years, but not as many years as it has, and they finally have just continued their license on an annual basis until the relicensing process has been completed.
Oh, so they have these temporary licenses for 12 years. Where does Doge come in there?
Right.
It's just, I mean, when we think about the waste.
Well, the fact is they make money, and they make money for a Canadian crown corporation. So we've got the British royal family benefiting from this. So all you patriots out there, think about that.
But our state government wants it.
Yes.
Our governor is very much behind this, and a lot of what you hear is it's necessary because we have to be able to store energy. For those times when, you know, peak times when energy use is high, they can call on these facilities because when it's being held at the top of the mountain, it's being stored. But the truth is, they do daily up and down, daily up and down. Occasionally they'll say, we need you to save some, don't let out yet, because we've got some peak hours coming up. They get paid a lot of money to do that. like millions of dollars to do that, to be, so to speak, on call for that energy.
Right.
It doesn't always get used.
I think there's an argument to be made that there's a need for storage, but we feel that the damage to the river is not worth it. It's really hurting the river, which is the heart of our community. We're in the valley. The valley is formed by the river, and it's not worth trashing it to have this little extra on hand, and the money goes to Canada.
Yes, we have this beautiful Northfield Mountain hill that could house those ugly windmills instead.
And I think we should make it clear that we support the workers up there, and we think they should be given good jobs. We're not into busting anybody's income or getting anybody in trouble with money and stuff. It's just that those people, they're talented people, they're good people, they could be used doing something much less destructive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the proper way to handle pump storage is to have a dedicated down basin. You have the up basin and the down basin.
Right.
But to destroy the country's 6th largest river,
Yes.
that originates in Quebec and goes on down to New York,
Down to the Long Island Sound.
down to the Long Island Sound. And of course, this withdrawing and then flushing into the river rather than to a down basin, which, First Light could invest in, conceivably. The profit takers could certainly make a proper pump storage system, an up basin and a down basin, and use some kind of renewable energy to get the water up there, or there's other kinds of things other than water that can be used for pump storage. Yeah. But the offensive thing with First Light is, as you had mentioned, they lie about the character of this energy they produce. This very, very, very fossil fuel and nuclear fuel intensive electricity. There are many communities that are trying to come together and collectively buy green energy and get off fossil fuels. And this is the most intense fossil fuel electricity that is falsely presented by First Light to these often not specialized, just normal people who are trying to go green, lying to them to say this is clean energy, this is hydropower. We're a hydro electricity producing clean company, when in fact it's the dirtiest company and engaging in all sorts of deception, absence of transparency, absence of community responsibility. It's time to end First Light's involvement here. And you had mentioned it is a Canadian Crown corporation. It is part of the Canadian federal government, and it has its tentacles in many, many countries, and has divided its operations into many separate little subsidiary companies. But nevertheless, it is the state, it is the government of Canada. And what does it do with the profits that it makes from destroying our environment and the environment of many, many people in many, many countries? It pays its retirees their pensions.
Yep. It's a cash cow. For if you're a retired Canadian Mountie, some of your income comes from Northfield Mountain Pump Storage.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think this is one of the things we're finding, I know in Northampton recently they just passed an ordinance, a resolution to look at their investment in weapons, and I think it is important to look at, as they say, follow the money.
Yep.
And that's what we're really working on doing, is following the money, and and looking at people like the retirees in Canada who deserve. It is not, according to Mr. Elon Musk and others, it is not a Ponzi scheme. It's something that people have, we've put our our hard-earned money into retirements, and so we expect to have something to get some of that money back.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One thing that I would add too is that our state government, talking about we need this energy, has done nothing to help us or to lead in a way of conserving energy, so we don't need so much. Nothing.
Right.
Really. And so for me, it's like you haven't done your homework. You tell me we need this, but you don't tell me how we could not need so much of this or help our state along in not using so much energy. So we wouldn't be doing this to our river, or because we all know we're not going to survive at this rate of consumerism, consuming energy, etc.
Yeah.
So, don't come and ask for my river, my forest, if you haven't done your homework.
Right. So they're using our tax dollars to support this project. And the unfortunate thing is that our legislatures, many of people in Massachusetts have been hoodwinked into thinking this is green energy. So you've got ambitious politicians who want to burnish their liberal credentials. I'm for hydro, I'm for clean energy. And they're like, go Northfield Mountain.
Right.
The thing is they've drunk the Kool-Aid and they're trying to make a name for themselves as a green person when they're actually trashing our beloved Connecticut River.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why the Connecticut River Defenders takes a rather unique position that we should have an end to this travesty, shut it down now, completely, stop negotiating around the edges of this travesty. So number one, shut it down. Number two, reparations, clean it up, try to heal the river in a state-of-the-art, sensible way, and restore the wildlife to the river, make it possible for recreation and for food, as it has been for millennia, and return it to its clean state. And lastly, recognize the original people, the indigenous people, and put the territory back in their hands. It's been seized from them, so it needs to be restored. And under a kind of philosophy that opens it up to really supporting life and a healthy society, and one would hope within a context of free the land.
Yeah, I think it's the Northfield Mountain Pump Storage is a continuation of the settler colonialism, which 350 years ago, right now, 350 years ago, right here, there was a terrible war fought, the bloodiest war per capita in American history, and that war continues, and now the victims are short-nosed sturgeon, an endangered species that is being threatened by this plant. So I think we could look at it at a broader scale, taking into consideration the First Nations. And I believe that scholars have found that there are deeds that the white people got someone to sign for a lot of the land around here, but nobody ever sold the waterfalls, either Holyoke or Turners, ex-Turners. Those were common grounds and places of peace where there was just abundant food. And so even if they got some disreputable person to say, oh yeah, that's my land and I'm going to give it to you, that never happened on the salmon fishing spots. And it's also interesting to note that in the fall, the eels come down the river. And so that's another great bounty. And it comes at the right time, right as it's getting cold, and they're just super high in protein and fat. So not only did you get salmon coming up, and you got the shad and all these different fish in the spring, but you got eels going down in the winter. So the benefit and the economic benefit of those species and the kind of people that would love to come here, perhaps to go fishing, perhaps just to look at the fish, if we restored the river to its pristine state, I think we would generate much more income for the area.
Now you just put something in my mind. The royal family we talked about,
Yep.
you made
Prince Andrew and his lot.
Well, they did such a good job. Excuse me?
I said Prince Andrew and his gang.
The brotherhood.
Let's not talk about him because that's a whole other story. But they cleaned up the Thames.
Right.
So how about going ahead and cleaning up the Connecticut?
Really?
Yes.
Well, you know, the Connecticut River has been cleaned up a great
Yes,
deal, as I
it's-
understand it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they could stop hurting it.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
They could stop.
Yeah.
So I think
So-
there's sort of this superficial idea that First Light is taking care of the river, providing recreation by putting out picnic tables and stuff. But really, to protect the river, you need to restore it to its original state, and then you would have so much benefit. And it's, you know, it's not going to happen overnight, but we should work at it. We should head in that direction. And shutting down Northfield pump storage would be a huge step forward.
Yeah, I mean, they have done, you know, as you mentioned, there's so many people who don't know what First Light actually does. They know there's this lovely picnic area, there's Barton's Cove, there are all these wonderful things, you know, all this recreational gifts for all your increased electricity costs.
Right.
But it's really our money they're gifting back to us.
Yes, right.
You know?
And
Yeah.
they try so hard to appear benign and helpful. You know, the amount of their effort and all the wonderful things they do at Barton's Cove and Munn's Ferry and the Riverside picnic area. Well, why are they being so energetic? It's because they're covering up a massive crime, and they have to be very opulent and very visible. And so, you know, they're supposed to be considering the river. They're supposed to be considering the people around the river, so they make this gesture.
Yeah.
But
So-
they're forced to make that gesture.
Yes.
They don't really do it of their own.
Right.
And in the upcoming license around some of this stuff and things people want and required, they say, well, we can do that in 5 years or we can do that in 6 years because they have to make the money to do it first.
Right.
There's no investment. No investment.
Yeah.
And they've never even gotten easements from all the landowners along the river. They're supposed to get easements because they're trashing this shoreline. And they've gotten some people to sign, but there are a lot of people who never signed, and they just keep doing it anyways. There's places in the river where you used to be able to put in nice sandy beach, and now it's like a 20-foot mud cliff because of this corrosive flushing.
That's an interesting thing. Also, you both mentioned the indigenous people. I mean, you mentioned this 350 years ago war. That's
Yep.
Prince King Philip's War you're talking about. Do you want to, for those people who don't know anything, you want to just share a little of what you know about that?
Talking about the salmon.
Because this is Turner's Falls.
Yeah.
That was once called
Great Falls.
Great Falls.
Or
Right.
Teskiumscut.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the salmon, we were talking about them. They run in the spring. It's a huge source of food, and also, you know, these were neutral areas where everybody was peaceful. And 350 years ago, this spring, Captain Turner and his Englishmen killed a lot of people there, and they killed the women and children. You know, the natives fought a bloody war. The English fought a bloody war, but I would say the English focused more on women and children. A warrior society, generally it's warrior on warrior.
Yes.
But the English, it was warrior, militiaman, soldier on women, children, and the elderly.
Well, they had all that practice in Scotland first. so
Yes,
they
yep,
knew how
they
to
were
do
well
that.
practiced.
Yes.
First,
Yes.
doing in the Highlanders at the Battle of Culloden, which leads straight to Turner's Falls Massacre.
And that's, this connecting the dots, connecting the roots.
The roots.
That these, when these Western Europeans came to Turtle Island, they brought some terrible things.
Yeah.
And we're trying to correct that.
Yeah.
Now 350 plus
We don't have to
years
feel
later.
guilty, but we're obligated to try and make it better.
Here, yes, yes.
Yeah, and many of us, recognizing the hierarchies of power that the colonial regimes have set up globally and right in our own communities, have been trying and practicing using the privilege we have due to our use of the English language, the color of our skin, the cultural situation to which we were born, good nutrition, all this the real luxury compared to most people in the world. Use all of that to, in my case, think about and work in whatever modest way possible towards a post-fossil fuel capitalist system. And I see what we share around the world. We share dispossession. And when you're dispossessed, when somebody takes your land and takes things from you, you want them back. Yeah. So what we're all doing now, when people say we're all Palestinians or Palestine, Gaza is everywhere, we're thinking globally about using our solidarity as the dispossessed to work together to repossess. And if we think of what we can do with these sites of destruction, the horrible cancer alley of the Gulf Coast, the Gulf of Mexico coast, we see it in Jersey, we see it in certain places, Los Angeles, at Sarnia and in Canada, and throughout the Middle East. We see all these desperately needed sites of cleanup, and then we start thinking about the other kinds of routes, and we see some amazing solidarities around the world today about blocking military equipment to Gaza, where there's a genocide proceeding, and intensifying, and trying now to bring aid, however symbolic. And I see how the dock workers in Spain and Italy have been raising so much good trouble.
Yes.
That they have their governments on notice that should the 40-plus small vessels with Greta Thunberg and others trying to make it to Gaza, if those are destroyed by the Israeli Offense Force, then the navies and air force of the Italian and Spanish states are going to go to their rescue. So we have a very explosive situation there, very explosive.
And it's important to remember that right here, there was a very similar situation happening. What's happening in Gaza now was what was happening here. And it wasn't Palestinians, it was the original people. Mm-hmm. And I think this issue transcends left and right. If you're someone who treasures independence, treasures freedom, who doesn't want to have their tax dollars used for dumb things, join us in fighting Northfield Mountain. If you like fishing, if you like hunting, if you like nature, if you want to be able to get out on a boat and righteously on the river, let's all work together. It's not about left and right here. It's about protecting our resources. This is a commonly held resource, the Connecticut River. Why should we let a Canadian company hurt it for their own benefit? And why should we let this issue divide us? We're all living here. The valley depends on the river, and the river depends on us a little bit now.
Those are good points. Thank you, Jeff, for those, because I think it is so important to look at how this is not a left-right thing. Yeah. This is the conservationists. This is you know, people who want the preservation of our land.
Yep.
You know,
The contribution of nature to the quality of life of human beings has really been documented, well documented scientifically. And, you know, the social benefit of that river far outweighs whatever First Light is making from that.
yes,
Plant.
that bears boldly repeating, because I think it is so important. What you know, that one little line you just gave, Priscilla, that you know that the advantage, the gift of that river to us, to humanity, is unfathomable.
And when you get a gift, there's reciprocity.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're giving back to the river by fighting.
Now you've all mentioned the indigenous people. How do they connect to the Connecticut River Defenders? How do you work with them, or do you?
Well, I would say when we, you know, first organized and, you know, said, yeah, we want to call for land back here, we had to think about, you know, a lot about and read about and know about what does that mean, you know? And it means you really commit yourself to learning about and changing and understanding what has taken place and what others experienced and how that has affected them for centuries, you know, and how it's affected us for centuries, our privilege, you know. And so, yeah, we want to learn about that, we want to know about that, and so we've made some connections with some indigenous folks. We've done some rallies with them, some programs with them, and we're continuing to work with them to see how, you know, we can grow and work towards this goal we have.
Right. And it makes us richer. I mean, let's face it, we're all immigrants, right?
Except for them.
Yeah. Yeah, all the people in the room here. We're all from a European background. And so, you know, I remember Orrin Lyons came to Washington and he said, "Tell the chief tenant the landlords are here." And our lives will be richer once we stop this kind of settler colonialism business and really get down with the people who know the land, who lived here for 10,000 years. After the ice sheet retreated, there were caribou hunters coming up in a very cold climate. And as the climate warmed, they adapted, and they lived successfully without hurting anything for 10,000 years or more. And the Europeans have had 350 years, and it is, the river is improving from what it was back when you could tell what color paper was being made in Miller's Falls by looking at the color of the water, but a lot more to do.
That is an important thing to note, that, you know, I made that reference to the cleaning up the Thames and, of course, cleaning up the Hudson. Yes. But, you know, this, and there has been some cleaning, so we have to not say nothing's been done.
You know, they tried to pull this scheme off on the Hudson. They were going to build a pump storage plant at Storm King Mountain. And because it was so close to New York, and because that's a wealthy area, they just said, no way. So they took that idea and brought it to rural Massachusetts and
found another river.
They found another river that didn't have the kind of advocacy the Hudson had.
Yeah.
I also wanted to share my kind of upstream, downstream sensibility here. In Canada, there are Indigenous people who are refusing to allow dams to be built to produce electricity to sell to Massachusetts, to New England, broadly speaking.
Yes.
And this is this expected electricity is how the Massachusetts government and the other New England governments, but especially Massachusetts government, have been pointing to as the way to satisfy the commitments to get off fossil fuels and generate more of our power from clean sources. However, the well-being of the Northlands in Quebec and Ontario, where the Indigenous people, as you've described, have lived a very good life, but have been very much disrupted over the last 150, 200 years in Canada, they are saying no. And I believe, what with the neo-colonial rhetoric that we've been hearing about the 51st state and so on, that the solidarity between the no dams, no electricity for export, Indigenous position, and their allies amongst the colonial descendants is just grown very much stronger. And the question marks have been placed over a proposed pump storage that has a treasured lake as the proposed down basin. I don't think that's going to happen in Ontario. This is in Ontario. So we have the Indigenous people of Canada, we have the Indigenous people of New England, and we also have the people of Pennsylvania and surrounding states that have been fighting fracking and the pipelines that would carry that gas and that oil to market. So we have this chain of solidarity where we want to shut down all these different fossil fuel operations as they're connected to each other. And of course that has ramifications abroad. The people of Europe do not want to buy liquefied natural gas from Corpus Christi, from the Gulf. They do not want to, at 3 times the price that Russia has been supplying them. They want to get off it.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So that's a basis of solidarity.
Yeah.
And the anti-war sentiments, we all know that war is the largest contributor to climate chaos. And we're concerned about the climate destruction by the fossil fuel. Massive electricity consumption based on fossil fuel burning. As much electricity as the whole greater Boston area consumes, right? That much electricity to get that water up there, up on top of the mountain, for profit, for no other reason but profit.
And even a lot of it, as you noted, is lost.
Right, it's
amount.
arbitrage. Buy low, sell high,
Yes.
and make a little money for yourself.
Right.
But in the Indigenous point of view, the border between Canada and America is a European invention.
It is.
Yes.
And the English were so aggressive in terms of their colonialism that a lot of the natives allied with the French. So you've got a fair connection between this area and southern Quebec.
I mean, one of my favorite stories is the what happened in Deerfield. Where the women were taken to the native lands and decided they liked it so much that they would stay there. They were treated better, and I think it's quite an educational foray there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another interesting point kind of along these lines is those lines from Canada, from the dams, the water power, they're building lines through Maine to transport that energy down here. And the people of Maine, I think about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, said no and voted no. Got taken to court. The court said, sorry, you objected too late. So
you have to take this power from Canada whether you want it or not.
yeah,
Too
it gave
bad.
the companies the go-ahead
Carte
to
blanche,
continue to,
yeah.
and we are the ones, Massachusetts, are paying for that.
Again, it's that follow the money.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And I just read a forecast, can't tell you the source, 20 to 30% increases in domestic electricity bills throughout the United States in the coming year. A third higher, 20% to 30% higher. And I've just been to activist manifestations in Washington, D.C. With a group that's sort of your old 350.org people called Third Act, and a bunch of other groups, and a lot of faith groups against FERC and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And it became very clear to me that FERC is paid for by the oil industry and is a very low grade, lightweight, not competent, not slick, not very good PR face, a kind of barrier, a kind of buffer between we the people and big oil. And there they were, talking. They had a new chair. He was pledging his loyalty every second sentence to our king, and saying that the future is about AI and beating China, and therefore it's drill, baby, drill. He used those exact words. And we disrupted the proceedings. We didn't have arrests. We were just put out into another room and saw the proceedings on a screen. But FERC is just going to rubber stamp. It's nothing to do with regulation. It's the facilitation of fossil fuels that's causing these terrible fires and storms, and these are just going to get worse. And global migration will continue, because if you have a desert,
yes,
you are not going to be able to live there. You will go elsewhere, right?
Someone said that in the for-profit world, nature is that which you can get for free. So in other words, the Connecticut River is considered a natural resource, so therefore it's okay to exploit it. Whereas I think a more holistic view would see nature as part of a system that includes us, and includes our history, includes the land, includes the spirit of the land, includes our children to the 7th generation. And it's not just free. It's not there to be exploited. It's there to be honored and protected. And I guarantee you we'll all be better off if we can move in that direction.
That's right.
And I like your reference to that. Thanks, Teresa, for this reminder of what FERC is. Because we think of these organizations, these agencies, the federal supporters of the people, right? And then we start looking at them closely and go, oh, no.
Well, we could talk about ISO New England, which is just a more local level.
So tell us about
a highly secretive organization.
ISO.
Nonprofit.
What is that?
Independent Service Organizations, I believe. And they're throughout the country. That's how FERC has divvied up the sections of the country to run the grids. So here we have ISO New England, which is headquarters are housed in Holyoke, but it does cover the 6 New England states. And they manage the grid.
And Service is their middle name?
Well, you'd think so, because they claim they're a nonprofit. They're registered in Delaware, where all nonprofits would go,
really?
of course.
Yes.
Along with First Light. Their CEO makes almost $2 million a year. Your next person down makes $1 million, I think it is, a year.
And what do they do?
They decide what energy will be on the grid, how much you'll be paid. They manage it.
So they're the local regulatory people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who oversees them?
Oh, well, I would imagine FERC, but I don't know to what degree or how. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, they're just a scam too. They're the group that kind of runs ISO or makes recommendations to ISO. I think it's called NEPA, which is really all of the energy corporations and companies and interests in the area in New England.
New England, and is the New England.
Prior to the creation of these independent service organizations, they did it themselves. They all just kind of got together and figured this will be, what our price will be, or this is how we'll manage this or that. And then after FERC came in and they created these ISOs to do that, but they're all in cahoots together, and they're just...
So you've got all these levels too. I mean, you've got FERC and then ISO and then NEPA and then And then we'll get the bill.
And
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
NEPA, I'm sorry, it's NEPOL.
Need-hold.
Yeah, New England, something.
Energy pool, isn't it?
Yeah, energy, thank you very much.
I mean, what the ISO does is look at all the different energy providers.
Right.
You know, I mean, you and I could get together and put up a couple windmills, and you know,
Yes.
if we generated enough kilowatts, we could be part of NEPOL. And then ISO comes to us, right? We, the energy producers, and works out through a very Byzantine and in no sense rational or economic or efficient way establishes the prices.
Right.
And indeed, some critics were at the meeting we of the consumer group recently, a couple weeks ago, and one of the basically end fossil fuels groups, I'm thinking of Marla, spoke and said, you know, we were considering boycotting the question period here because you just provide non-answers to our questions. And indeed, it was shocking. It was shocking. You would never get away with that at a university or any public lecture or any town hall. The way that the kind of empty phrases rolled off the lips. But Marla was putting forward, this one woman was putting forward the case that fossil fuels and nuclear energy were favored, not solar, small-scale hydro, and really clean energy in their decision-making about what energy they bought and used for our electricity, and also heating and so on. And the answer was, well, sometimes habitually we just push that button. And you just push, meaning fossil fuels. We just jack up the fossil fuels. When we need more, that's easy. It worked last time.
What the response
this was the response. Habit. Habit, knee-jerk habit. Now, really, we know that's not true. We know that's not accurate. We know that the oil companies have organized this agency to make a buffer between it and the people.
So when you're addicted to those, it is habit.
Yeah, really.
When we ask ISO or First Light, tell us, when do you operate? How much do you produce? When are you asked to be on hold to store energy for a needed time? Does it get used? How much of it gets used? Oh, you can't know that information.
Right.
We can't disclose that information. How are we as consumers, public, to judge whether this is really worth doing or not if we can't see the figures?
Yes.
They share the information among themselves, and that's how First Light makes its money. They see, there's cheap electric power at 4 p.m. from this nuke in Connecticut. Let's buy it. And then, hey, the price of electricity just went way up. Let's let the water down. And as Priscilla said, we don't have access to that information. This is a game that's being played with our money that we cannot find out about because they don't tell us.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that, when I think about you in your good trouble, that this is what you're doing right now, is making good trouble around these companies, around these agencies, the regulatory agencies that are totally failing, the public.
Right.
And I want to go back to something you said early on, Priscilla, and that was about conserving. That capitalism I equate often with cancer. It's just out of control growth, and I think so. So what? How do we counter that? We say, well, wait a minute, we don't need these things, and there's something, then it becomes austerity, and that's another bad word. Conserving austerity, and how do we? And maybe I'm.
So
Go
I
ahead.
remember when I was a kid, we had a little store down the street from us. We'd go down and get something, snack or whatever. And I remember everyone just threw their papers on the ground. Everyone did that, is what people did. And then there was Earth Day, and then there was this whole campaign not to litter bug.
Don't
it
be a litter
worked.
bug. Yes.
It worked.
Yeah.
I would no more throw a piece of paper on the ground now than, do a lot of things, So it's possible.
Yes.
It's a campaign, a full-on campaign about what we need to do about our energy use to save ourselves and our planet. Could do a whole lot to address our energy problems. And then maybe we could think about, what do we need? Where do we get it? Where do we make the least sacrifices? How do we make judgments about sacrifices? But just to say to us, we need this so we can keep doing this and this and this. I'm sorry, don't litter bug.
So we've got people who are in it for themselves, making money, trashing our common resources. So, everything Priscilla said makes total sense. Well, why isn't it happening? Because somebody is exploiting it and getting rich on it. And they don't care what happens between Turner's Falls and Vernon. They're off in Canada or in the Buckingham Palace making money. And quite frankly, the welfare of the valley and the welfare of our river and the fish in it, the banks, the boaters, the hunters, the fishers, they don't care about that.
Right, yes. And so part of our job is to raise awareness. They may not care in Buckingham Palace or in Ottawa or wherever in Canada their headquarters are, but locally, and this is where I think the power is. Yeah. That you're doing, that reaching out and letting people know what's happening. Because just recently, and I know this will be broadcast differently, but people threatened Disney, and guess what? The comedian came back on television.
3 days he was off.
There was that wonderful thing during the Vietnam War. The whole point of more power than we know, that we do have more power than we know. We've been taught that we're powerless. Oh yes, you can vote. You're one person, one vote. But we actually have much more power than that. And I think I want our viewers to be reminded of that too, that whether it's supporting the Connecticut River Defenders or the river itself. You're the defenders of the river, but you're not the only ones. We need everybody to get on and to join you.
And we frequently do call people together to be together and celebrate the river and, join together in this effort. And we've had several rallies down at the intake in Northfield. And we don't know when this will be broadcast, but if it's before October 19th, please come out to the intake area at Northfield Mountain on October 19th, where we'll be rallying near the intake to shut down the Northfield Mountain Pump Storage Station.
Also known as the Riverview Picnic Area.
Yes.
So this is in Northfield, Massachusetts, just down the river and down the road from a great ice cream parlor, too. But we won't even go there.
It's beautiful land.
Oh, you will.
And as you drive by the solar panels, remember that that's where they dumped all the sludge they had to clean out of their lake.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's not just the erosion. What gets spit out is tons of garbage, chopped up, mushed up, living things that get deposited and ferment and grow in ways that aren't meant to be.
So we've got a lot of power because the river has power. The short-nosed sturgeon has power. The original people of this land still have power. And all of us in Franklin County who are self-reliant, hardworking, get along pretty damn well, I think we got a lot of power. Now, can we go up against the millionaires and the billionaires and Prince Andrew and Dudley Do-Right? I don't know.
Well, I think if we don't try, we will never know.
And the kinds of things that we see going on. I'm so impressed with the ability of of all of us to keep Jimmy Kimmel on the air.
Yes.
You know, to put Disney in order,
Yes.
to put Target in order, to put all these companies where people of color have been patronizing and working in, which have just embraced the, the fascist, racist nastiness of the abolition of DEI and worse, that we have certainly put Tesla on notice,
Yes.
and are now turning to, well, we've been boycotting Starbucks for a while, we have power. And the moment that Albanese report came out of the United Nations about a month ago, where she and her people have just enumerated in dollars and cents and called names of CEOs and corporations that are making a killing from killing Palestinians in Gaza and elsewhere. Yeah. And once that happened, workers have sprung into action at a new level. Not to say they were pacific or there was quietude prior to that, but there's just been a surge of direct action to stop weapons going to Israel and to try and get aid to these starving people. Yeah. And that's very inspiring. I mean, to develop the theme of people have the power, and we communicate with each other. We know what's happening everywhere all the time.
I had the good fortune this week to attend a couple of different lectures. I heard the man from Canada actually talk about his film he's making on how to stop a nuclear war, and he was very good. This was at the University of Massachusetts. But then last night I heard Michael Ansara talk about his work as a community organizer and how they so effectively did great organizing around the Vietnam War, and his mantra basically is it's all relationships.
Oh, yes.
That we can't write off the anybody. But how do we talk to someone who seems to be on the opposite side of the issue? And I think it was good advice and good history, because he talked about how effective it was. And I just saw something from the Public Citizen, that the headline, "One day everyone will have been against this."
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's what happens. With Vietnam, there were so many people who thought, no, it was the right thing to do, and we'd drunk the Kool-Aid. The domino theory and all of that. And now I think it's the same thing is happening with Israel and Palestine, that things are changing, and the good news around Vietnam was it was a lot of theory, and we'd all grown up in those days to be anti-communist, because that was the Kool-Aid, but we broke out of that, and I think it was easier to be against the Vietnam War for many of our leaders than it is to be against Israel because of AIPAC, and. So we're still in there fighting, and when the UN makes these reports, and I'm very hopeful that some things will come out of the UN, this General Assembly, but that's because I drink that optimistic Kool-Aid.
I think if we listen to our own veterans here, American veterans who have served in war, they will tell you it's horrendous, it's hurtful, and the benefits are very small. The Vietnam Veterans Against the War was a key group, and you talk to these guys, and the narrative was from their fathers who were in World War II. They fought fascism in World War II, and so the younger generation wanted to do the same thing, and they got hoodwinked into a war that was not helpful to America, was not helpful to them, wasn't helpful to Vietnam. So let's have a critical view towards what they're telling us we need. And we don't need Northfield Mountain. the genocidal war that established English dominance in the valley, and which generates this horrendous false power plant. Those are all things that are not helpful.
Yeah.
I think that the people who perpetrate them know in their hearts that it's not helpful, but the money is good, and they're adept at fooling people and getting people to sign on, including our politicians here in Massachusetts who want to burnish their green credentials.
Right.
And, oh yeah, I support hydro. Well, that's not helpful. Not in this case.
Yeah. If you're at, where is it, at the Bay of Fundy, where you have the 20-foot difference, hydro is one thing, but on the Connecticut River, I think it's quite something else.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So
I think that there's a question I'd ask all of you, and that is, you talked about making sacrifice. And there is something about that word that goes against the American way.
Yeah.
It's, and so I'm wondering, how do we talk about being good citizens of the earth? That it's not, it looks like a sacrifice, but in fact, it enhances our lives.
Definitely.
And I think in places like this Connecticut Valley, where we don't have the opulence of so many parts of this country, we have so much natural beauty, we have so much good nature, we have so much clean air, and sometimes good water.
Yeah.
Wells are good. That I think it really is a rethinking, and maybe I'm just right now a little under the influence of Johanna Macy and her the great turning, to turn from this insanity of embracing the cancer of unlimited growth to.
I think
Yes.
that's part of why we call for the shutdown of the plant versus, improvements. We're ready to turn. Let's just do it.
And you talked about roots.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the roots of a movement, I believe that's already happening. It's happening all around us, and not just in one country, globally. The roots are really already here. We have a lot of knowledge about cooperation, about worker-owned and controlled production units, about healing the soil. Many of us are involved in collective and community mutual support, teaching, caring for the elderly, caring for the very young. That's where we have a huge debt to pay to our immigrants, whatever papers they carry, right?
Yes.
The Haitian women who run the daycare centers in the old folks' homes in the Eastern Seaboard. I have to, we have to show our appreciation and our care for such people, and by their millions, and not allow this kind of desecration of nature of which we are a part, a
Yes.
web that we've grown up together, we've evolved together, we're interdependent. And I love the Connecticut River Defenders, because at the very beginning, we recognized how complex this question was, and how real democracy and self-education and group education and is required. If we're saying that's not good, we are saying something else or some other, more than one alternative is good. And that means that it would be really great if we would think about in our jobs, our daily life, whatever, as students, or if we're housewives or whatever we are, that we think of where the inputs come from, who produces and gets us necessary inputs, and who takes what it is we produce. Who is eating that meal? Who is, so that more and more we can take charge of that. And you know, we know that the rich are buying the political system and have been doing for some time. And they're not going to stop. I mean, 2 days ago now, we understand that those of us who are against fascism are domestic terrorists. I mean, this is insane. This is absolute. You have to be pro-fascist in order not to be a terrorist? Give me a break. Do you know, the kind of movement that we are now willy-nilly, like it or not, caught up in, right, is the kind of movement for democracy and for taking back what's been taken from us that is required at Northfield Mountain and in so many other aspects of our lives.
Yeah, and for those of you on the right, I'd say work for self-sufficiency, work for freedom. Don't get hoodwinked into blaming someone else for your problems. And you don't have to sacrifice, because the rewards of being a good citizen, of cooperating, of respecting others, respecting people different from you, the rewards are so profound, and they'll make you a lot happier. What's happening now is that the wealthy and those in control of information are setting us regular people against each other. They're telling people you have to be scared of these people, or these people are hurting you. It's not true. We're all together. Us in Franklin County, I respect everybody in Franklin County. I don't care what your politics are or what your background is. It makes us rich to have diversity and diversity of thought. And I think that if we can analyze the situation and not get fooled into fighting amongst ourselves, we can make some real changes, and we can improve the river for everybody. Right now, Northfield Mountain blames the boaters for the erosion of the bank.
Oh, I know. What a joke.
Oh, you went too fast, your wake was too big, and that's what's trashing the river. Well, no.
And I think even the kayakers have been blamed for some of that.
Yeah, let's blame the little guy, right? So, and there you have it.
There you have it. And there we have it. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Connecticut River Defenders, Priscilla Lynch, Jeff Brown, and Teresa Turner. Audience out there, pay attention to these folks. Love our river. And if you love it, then take some action to help keep it clean and clean it up even more.
Check out our website.
Check out the website, and the website is?
CTRiverdefenders.org.
CTRiverdefenders.org. Go there or be square.
That's right.
All right. Thank you, Paki. Thank you once more. Thank you for watching these wonderful stories of our people in making good trouble. Thanks.
Thank you.